Well, hello, friends. Glad you could join us. Welcome to the 200th Division 1 Grand Prix here in the Midwest F1 League. Tonight we're at the Suzuka International Racing Course for round 11 of this 14th Division 1 season. Into the final 5 races of the season. By golly, what a good final 5 races this is going to be. But again, 200th Division 1 race. I remember coming into this league of September of 2020 in the first inaugural season of Division 2, and what a wild ride it's been since then. The world has definitely changed a lot in the 5 years that we've been doing this. Definitely people are not on the video games as much as they used to be now that COVID is no longer a thing. But let me tell you, there's still nowhere else I'd rather be on a Thursday night at 9:30. And let's go ahead and get you through our starting grid for today's Grand Prix. Reimer on pole by a tenth and a half over the championship leader of race day in second. Scornsey third. By the way, once again, Midwest royalty in Scornsey in third, making his return to Division 1. Only behind the top spot by 2.5 tenths of a second. Half a second. 5.5 tenths is Swee in fourth. It'll be Cali Rob fifth. Ferrari's in fourth and fifth there. Lancey sixth. Fire Up Flow seventh. Eighth will be Edwin. Ninth, Got Any Weave. 10th is A-Dub. 11th is Shariah, 12th is King Pro, 13th is Gab, 14th is Nikki, 15th is Element, 16th is Race Chase, 17th is Travis Scott, 18th is Gunner, 19th is Valentine. Rounding out the grid, P20, for what is the first full 20-car Division 1 grid since Season 12, is that of Houdini. Suzuka International Racing Course here, one of the best racing circuits in the world, one of the most legendary, and one of the most challenging as well. And we'll have a look at the driver and constructor standings. So after the Netherlands last time out, Race Day does still lead this championship by 100 points over Race Chase in second, who leads Nikki only by 5 in third. Cali Rob 11 behind him in fourth. Tied on points for fifth is Shariah and Got Any Weeb. Seventh will be Lancey, eighth Swede, ninth Gunner, and rounding out the top 10 is that of Reimer. Now, interesting again for Race Day. Ahead by 102 points in this championship, which does sound like a lot, with only 5 races to go, but with how this point structure's worked, first place is worth 60 points. So one bad race from Race Day, and this championship is once again back in position where it could be turned on its head, and Race Chase can get himself back into the mix, albeit he's starting P16 tonight, and that is not a good place for him to be. As far as the constructors are concerned, the Saubers do lead this one by 30 points over the Ferraris in second, Williams third, Aston's fourth, Mercedes fifth, Red Bull sixth, the McLarens in seventh, the Alpines in eighth, the Racing Bulls in ninth, and the Haas's in 10th. And as we said, final 5 races of the season. Japan tonight, the Red Bull Ring, Spielberg, Austria, February the 6th. February 13th for Qatar. February 20th for Spa, the penultimate round of the season, and rounding out the season, February 27th in Brazil. What a fantastic 5 races. Final 5 that we have for you here. Strategy 13 to 16. That is the stop from medium to hard, which everybody on the grid, barring 3 of A-Dub, Gab, and Travis Scott, those are... everybody else on the grid is medium. Those 3 have gone hard for this occasion, which tells me I'm not really sure we're going to be looking at any rain today. Of course, this circuit does provide some wet weather racing from time to time. I have not been pinged and been told that we are going to get any rain on the way for this edition. So I'm going to go ahead and assume this one is going to be down to the talent of the drivers themselves. It's a very difficult circuit, this. Not a lot of places to overtake. Obviously, it is a very old-school style circuit. And it always has been, and I don't believe it pretty much will ever change. It's going to be up to just, once again, the sheer determination and grit of the drivers tonight to be able to actually make things happen. Only the one DRS section on this circuit, similar to Monaco in that respect, where it is just only the one. A lot of overtakes will be made into that first corner. I would expect we can see some into the hairpin. Maybe through 130R and into the KCO triangle there, if we're lucky. But that's a bit of a risky one to make there. So, former teammates line up side by side on this grid. Reimer will be the one with the benefit here. Of course, Race Day has that better run to the inside of that first corner. You do not really want to be on the outside here, although it is a bit safer to be on the outside heading in this corner on that line, which Reimer is in. But it is going to be, I think, slightly more difficult to be able to keep that lead, to be able to cross over in front of the Mercedes in question, to be able to take it as they make their way through the S's and then up through Dunlop and in towards the Degners. We'll have to wait and see. You can see the McLaren of Scornsey is angled very much to that right side. As we're just waiting for Houdini to line up here, and here we are, all 20 lined up on the grid for the 200th time in Division 1 history. It's a definite pleasure to say that. We are lights out, and away we go. I've botched the moment there. Reimer gets off the line quite well. Raceday will immediately actually tuck in behind Reimer, which is not what I expected him to do. Sweet trying to the inside of Scornsy here. Brothers, these are. And they're wheel-to-wheel exiting these first couple of corners there, and in through the S's. Sweet is not let off quite yet, and they will eventually file on through, and they've kind of gotten themselves already, I would almost say, calmed down as through the S's, and then heading up through the Dunlop curve. This is a blind corner. Anybody goes off here and gets spun round and sideways on the circuit will absolutely spell disaster. Exiting Dunlop, heading towards now Degner 1 and 2, the downhill right-handers, and then under the bridge and towards the hairpin after that. You could see some moves be made here. It will be quite risky, and it'll have to be a late lunge for anyone involved if they are able to make it. Into the hairpin they go. Top three remain the same. The Ferrari stay the same. The V-carb, the Aston, the Williams, a fire-up flow there. I think wanted to have a look. That's the V-carb of King Pro trying to make his way around Shariah, but it didn't quite happen. The two Ferraris will swap spots now, as Cali Rob will go up to 4th, Swee in 5th, Lancey 6th going through the spoon curve, and then down the backstretch after that. Top three have separated themselves from Cali Rob by about a second already, as we are not even to the conclusion of this first lap, making their way down the backstretch, heading in towards the very quick left-hander of 130R, and in towards the final chicane, the Casio Triangle after that, and then once again, out of the final corner and down the pit straight, heading in towards those first corners there. That is your lap of Suzuka, and I tell you what, after this first lap, not much has changed. Only Race Chase and Houdini have made more than one spot on this opening lap. DRS will be activated. They'll have to wait until next time by going down the pit straight to be able to use it. We do now have King Pro Player to the inside of Shariah. He was challenging that Sauber earlier on in the previous lap, but he's only just now making it happen, up to 11th for King Pro. That's one spot gain on the day. Shariah has lost one now. Race Chase and Houdini are the only two drivers who are up one or more positions, or sorry, let me rephrase that, more than one spot. Gab is down 3, Travis Scott is down 3, so not a good day for the Alpines so far. Sui, I believe, has had somewhat of an error there going through Dunlop. That car has dropped 2 positions now as he'll fall to 6. Oh, look at this, Lancey's gone into the dirt, exiting Degner 1, getting back on the circuit through Degner 2, and he's come back on track next to the Williams in question. He's going to be wheel-to-wheel with him into the hairpin. Bit risky if he doesn't get it correctly, trying to tuck his way underneath his got Nuib, and going through 200R now, it looks as if it's all sorted, but Lancey does get overtaken by the Aston of Edwin after Swee loses the spot there. I believe does gain it back after all, as he's now once again 4th and 5th with his teammate. A-Dub tries to find something around King Pro Player. It's not going to happen quite this time. Meanwhile, down the backstretch they go once more. Cali Rob has gotten himself back within kind of realistic range of the top 3. There you go once again, lap 13 to 16, medium to hard. He's gotten himself back within range of the top 3. He's shaved off about 0.3 of a second since the beginning of last lap, and now we have the top 3. Down the pit straight they go. DRS activated for the Mercedes and the McLaren behind the Red Bull of Reimer. Race Day having a look to the inside. Is he going to be able to go for it? No, not this time. He'll be a little bit late in his decision-making there. Edwin, however, was not. He went clean to the inside of Swee and has made that spot happen. A couple of the closer battles on track as Nicky to the back end of Shariah as they make their way now in towards the beginning of the S-curves. And it looks like, once again, this has mostly sorted itself out. Reimer does still lead, albeit only 2.5 over Race Day in second. Scornsy behind only a 10th in third, and he is very much looking forward to trying to get round that Mercedes. As Race Day, one of the only handful of select multi-time drivers champions on the grid in Division 1 history as well. Scornsy, as we've mentioned, definite royalty here. What is he, 5-time champion? Race Day looking for, I believe, his 3rd. And he's definitely got some talent to try to work around Reimer, his former teammate. Was it last season, 2 seasons ago? Reimer, very quick driver. Let's see if he'll be able to hold off Race Day. It'll be quite the task if he does, although what I will say, this sort of circuit does suit Reimer to the point where he can attack it directly and, you know, try to work with the downforce that he does put on the car and be able to actually hold on down that DRS straight. If he doesn't, you can have a bet that he'll try the next time by. Top 4 cars file their way out of the final corner and down the pit straight once more. Only a couple of cars on track, not within DRS range of another. Down the pit straight they go. Kelly Robb not close enough to make anything happen. Top three cars separated by 0.5 of a second. Here goes Sui to the inside of Edwin. Also looking forward is Lancey there to the inside of the Aston as well. And he's made it happen. Oh, a little bit of a slide getting back on the throttle. He's wheel to wheel with Edwin in the beginning of the S's now. And he has gotten around the Aston only just. That one could have gone sketchy very quickly, but instead Lancey will get that 6th position back. Sui is able to hold on to 5th. As now they make their way up through Dunlop Curve, we'll go back along with Kelly Robb, who again is starting to get back within range of the top 3 ahead of him. I don't believe he's close enough really to make something happen with a braking maneuver in towards the hairpin, nor is that of Edwin to Lancey, although albeit he did want to have a quick look there. Not quite going to happen. I believe maybe did Fire Up Flow just make contact with the back end of Edwin. Nicky is going to have a move on Shariah here going through the hairpin. Shariah, however, is going to have better acceleration around the outside, and he'll be able to pull back ahead. Top 3 cars now. Oh, that was a big wiggle for Race Day. Coming out of the second bit of the spoon curve there. Scornsy now down to the inside. And he's going to tuck back in line. He does not need to send it into 130R quite yet. Meanwhile, however, that has opened the door for Kelly Robb. Into the chicane they go. Still about a 10th and a half, 2 tenths. Separating second and third. Reimer start. Oh, I was going to say Reimer was getting a nice little gap there. He has had a massive spin of oversteer, getting on the throttle down that final corner and down the pit straight. Now that could open the door for Race Day. Looking to the inside. Will he be able to have it through the corner? Oh, there's contact. Reimer's gone off. Yes, he has. He's able to keep the car clean and away from the walls, but he has been, I would say, contact made there with the Mercedes, and he's fallen down to 4th now. Unlucky for Reimer, and I'm not sure Race Day necessarily has done anything wrong. I just think probably a pure racing incident there. The good news is for Reimer, he's not that far behind. He doesn't have wing damage, and there's a lot of race left. Valentine and Nicky 60. Oh, this is Nicky and Travis Scott now. Nicky's got a hell of a lot of front wing damage on that left side. I'm only just noticing. There's a little bit of contact there with Travis Scott. Puts the Alpine into the gravel. But yeah, Nicky has hit something big time there. He's missing the end plate and a couple of just the winglets there. And that is not going to be a happy Nicky whatsoever. Through the spoon corner once again. Race Day in the lead, as we've mentioned. Scornsy second. And now look, oh, Race Day's gone wide through the spoon. Yes, he has. That's allowed Scornsy to the top spot. Reimer now will get back up to 3rd. Kelly Robb up to 2nd. Was that just pure error there from Race Day, or did he have help from behind? I was kind of looking down the order to see if we had any more tight battles going on, and I've missed that with my own eyes. I think you've got it on the camera angle, at least, to be able to tell if I'm wrong. But still, massive moment there for Race Day, and he falls down to 4th. And this is what we're talking about again. The consistency of Race Day has been the reason why he looks as if he's about to win this championship. Kelly Robb to the inside of Scornsy. Down the pit straight they go, and it looks as if the Ferrari will now take the lead of the Grand Prix. Lancey's going to get around Sui here to the inside in towards turn 1. Now up to 5th for the Dutchman. But again, this is the consistency that Race Day is going to win the championship off of if he does. He's got a 100-point gap going into the final 4 races. Again, we look at that, it sounds like a lot of points, but it is just purely, one bad race from Reimer, from Race Day, 1 DNF, and this championship could go back in the favor of Race Chase. Race Chase, unfortunately, for the time being, is struggling quite a lot there, P13. He is up 3 positions, but that's not what he needs. Meanwhile, Sui and Lancey. Oh, it appears Lancey may have gone wide through the Degners again. Oh, and Lancey into the wall along with Fire Up Flow. Well, Lancey had gone off there, exiting the 2nd Degner, comes back on track, gets into the side of the Williams in question. Both of them hitting the wall on the inside there. On the outside, heading out of the 2nd Degner, past the bridge, and now both Lancey and I believe Fire Up Flow having some wing damage. It appears Fire Up Flow's actually gotten away relatively unscathed there. That is more than I can say for Lancey, who does have a hell of a lot of wing damage now. And that car will be puttering around the circuit trying to get his way back to the pit lane, and he is dropping like a fly at the moment. Out of the final corner, down the pit straight once again to begin the 7th lap of the Grand Prix. Kelly Robb does lead, 4/10 of a second. Behind him is Scornsy, 2.5 tenths behind him is Reimer. Scornsy's going to have a look to the inside. Will it be able to happen? Reimer's going to have a look for it as well. Late on the brakes, and he's kind of done a bit of cadence braking there through the corner, and nearly was able to have enough to get down to the inside of Kelly Robb, but I'm afraid he'll have to stay put in 3rd. Scornsy does take the top spot. Callie Robb falls back to second. Reimer holds steady in third. Race Day, I'll say this about Race Day, is actually starting to fall off a little bit of the top four here. Sorry, top three. Is behind by about a second back to Reimer. Sweep pressuring Gottney Weeb for the fifth spot. 0.3 of a second between these two as Lancey into the pit lane as we've expected with his wing damage. Scornsey does lead, albeit only just, and only for now. The last time Scornsey won a Grand Prix here in Division 1, this was the final round of Season 12 at the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg, Austria. It has been, 25 races here in Midwest since he has last took a victory. He's gotten back into the sim racing. He's talked to me personally saying how he wasn't feeling it at the beginning of this game. He wanted to stay away. He wanted to take a little bit of a break. He could not shake the urge. And now look at this. Reimer and Callie Robb wheel to wheel there into the chicane. And, well, thankfully it stayed relatively clean because Reimer was on the brakes there, was nearly into the grass on the outside. Callie Robb, I think, maybe went a little bit deep and didn't allow Reimer to get through cleanly. Nobody's fault, really. I think it's just one of those things that happen. Everybody's stayed okay, and we can continue with green flag racing here. Swee is going to go to the inside of Gottney Weeb, way down low on the curb on the inside of the first corner. He's not able to make it happen. The two Saubers will swap position now. Race chase up to 10th. As the top four will make their way up towards Dunlop Corner now. And no changes were made that time by, but it's been, again, 25 races. This will be the 26th here for Scornsey since he's won a Division 1 Grand Prix. As I was saying, took a bit of a break there, couldn't shake the urge to come back racing. He's now in 2 out of the 3 leagues that I do cast, and about to join the third one once the next season is over. Just when he thought he was out, they pull him back in. Again, Scornsey, as we've said, 5-time Division 1 Drivers' Champion, the most of any. Race Day looking to tie Ryan Rods for second ever as Race Day. What is happening now? Reimer's had a bit of a bad go there through the spoon. He's gotten, well, maybe not. I don't know, connection issues at the moment, it appears. Race Day looking to... Oh, no. Oh, no. That's not good. Oh, boy. I don't like that. Yikes moment. What I was in the middle of saying is that Race Day looking to become only the tied second all time on oh Jesus, man. Well, as I was going to say about Race Day until I was rudely interrupted by the game, looking to become joint second all-time on Drivers' Championship wins. We had 3 by Ryan Rods, who currently leads it. Race Day with 2. The 5 by Scornsey, of course, it appears will be a record that not many, if any, ever will have an opportunity to break. As we're back onto the grid here. Through 130R they go. Callie Robb does still lead this brigade at 7.5 of a second. Oh, it appears Swee has been overtaken twice, once by both Gottney Weeb and Edwin as well. Making their way now through the chicane and down the pit straight. Callie Robb has a bit of a dive to the inside there, trying to break the toe as much as he can, and he has. No apparent difficulty for him there. So making their way through the S-curves now. Of course, the top 4 have a 5.5, nearly 6-second lead on the rest of the grid. Bit of an overtake there. Gunner appears to have gotten around Houdini, that for the 13th position. Houdini has made 6 places up in the race so far. Race Chase is actually up 7. It's been a halfway decent showing for him already. Of course, we talked about him struggling and wanting to stay back within this championship battle, which was going to take some doing, considering the gap that Race Day does have to the rest of the grid on that front. Through the spoon corner now, it appears that Cali Rob leads the way with no issue on the way through. Down the backstretch now, heading towards the 130R corner. Cali Rob still does lead, although Scornsy, what I will say is this has climbed back to within range of Reimer here very quickly. Now within 2.5 tenths of a second, 3/10. Reimer's had a big slide there, getting on the throttle, exiting the corner, down the pit straight now. Race Day into the pit lane. That seems like an early pit to me. The window was 13 to 16. He's done it at lap 11. Scornsy and Reimer side by side into the first corner. Reimer was able to hold off Scornsy for the time being. Scornsy will have to remain in third, having not been able to make an overtake happen there. But Race Day with an absolute undercut for the time being. He will drop down to P13 or worse as the rest of the brigaded cars making their way. Race Day exits the pit lane, only just able ahead. Look at Houdini. He wanted to have a go. He really did. Wanted to have a lunge around Race Day around the outside. He wasn't able to make it happen as we cut to Lancey, who was having a bit of an error. Into the hairpin they go. Cali Rob does still have the advantage. Now 7.5 tenths of a second over Reimer. Scornsy 4.5 behind him. Edwin still 6 seconds behind the rest of the top 3, who appear for the time being to be in a league of their own. Hey, here's Sweet trying to make a move on Gottney Weeb for the 5th spot. Let's once again have a look at the tire strategies taken so far. Only 4 cars on track have stopped. Race Day the only one having done so for strategic reasons, the rest of which I believe having to make front wing changes. Race Chase up 8 positions, Houdini up 7. Those two currently battling for driver of the day. Cali Rob +4, Edwin +4, Gottney Weeb +4 as well. Element up 5, Gunner up 4, Valentine up 3. In the negative direction, Lancey's down 13, and Race Day, having of course just stopped, is down 10. Scornsy into the pit lane now. Will also be going to the hard tires. Now, this is a big question because, again, the game told us in the beginning of the race it was, 13 to 16. These are really still about a lap early, 2 laps earlier than I would have figured that these fellows were going to be making these stops. Scornsy will enter the pit lane now. Fire up Flow as well. Race Chase has stayed out as well as not Shariah. Shariah has decided to come in here. So Race Day will be promoted roughly back to 9th position as he will actually exit the pit lane ahead of Scornsy. Not by a ridiculous margin, 7/10 of a second, but I will say Race Day is going to have an easier time here. He's already got those tires up the temperature. And Scornsy's going to really have to cling to the back end of Race Day. He's got to stay within DRS range of that car ahead to be able to stay realistically within the island of relevancy there. As far as being a player at the back end of the race, of course, we didn't expect the undercut to work that well for Race Day. We'll have to wait and see if it does work as well in reference to the top 2 of Reimer and Cali Rob. Who Reimer appears to have gotten around Cali Rob, was it last time by, now has that top spot. Through the chicane they go, down the pit straight. Cali Rob will decide to stop this time. And in the pit lane, oh, well, I tell you what, he only just got slowed down in time. And into the box he goes. It will be to the hard tires as expected. Edwin and Gottney Weeb do follow. Race Chase in as well. Element stays out. A-Dub, we'll have to wait and see what he decides to do. He is, of course, already on these hard tires. I believe, has he started on them? Yes, he has. Reimer now leads Sui by 9.5, 10 seconds here, who leads Element by 8.5, 9 seconds, who does lead Race Day by an additional 3. So for the time being, Reimer does have a net, 17, 20 some odd seconds. Is that going to be enough to be able to hold on to the lead when he does decide to stop? That is a massive question mark that he has absolutely got to be asking himself right now. I'm not entirely sure that it's going to be Oh, it's absolutely going to be close, isn't it? Although what I will say now, Sui has put an additional 2 seconds back to Element. So yeah, still about 20 seconds there. But what I will say is that Scornzy's going to be pressuring Race Day quite a lot here with DRS this time by. I am interested once again to see if Reimer pits this time. Will he come out on track in a position where he could still battle Race Day and Scornsy for the lead and be able to get away with it? Well, he will not stop this time. Reimer will continue to stay on track. What I think is interesting here with Reimer is that he is putting more time back to Sui. Sui is kind of holding about the same between himself and Element. Sui's actually going to stop now. So, Element 9 seconds behind Sui. Race Day is actually now within, well, as Element also decides to come in now. This is interesting here, because I think Race Day is 20 seconds behind Flat. This is really bold now. If Scornsy can get ahead of Race Day and battle him, and that'll almost hold him up for Reimer. Reimer will almost certainly pit and then be able to come back out to the lead of the Grand Prix. Of course, this is for the net lead of the Grand Prix here. Race Day, 20 seconds behind Flat, although what I will say is looking quite quick on the set of tires, hard tires he is on now. Reimer on those mediums is surely going to be struggling. Of course, we'll still have some pace immediately, but I'm not entirely sure that Reimer's going to be able to stay ahead of Race Day and the rest as they exit the pit lane. The top three cars, second, third, and fourth, within about, 7/10 of a second of each other. Reimer's going to exit the pit lane here, I think, probably on the back foot of this battle. Let's see. Reimer's making his way through 130R now. The other three making their way into the spoon curve. I mean, this is going to be right close here. Let's see what happens. Gab has gone round. I believe that's at the hairpin. I was going to say he and Travis Scott inverted positions there, but Gab is now falling even more. He's fallen down to 11th and continuing. Reimer into the pit lane. 19.5 seconds is what he has to spare. The other top two, as Scornsy does get around Race Day through 130R. That is massive. And I'm afraid we didn't quite see that move be made. Reimer is making his way down the pit lane now. The other two rounding the final corner. I tell you what, Scornsy's going to take the lead of this Grand Prix here unless Reimer does genuinely get the power down right shortly. Coming down the pit straight, and Reimer is going to be short. And he's going to be short by quite the margin as well. He may actually be under pressure. I was going to say from A-Dub. That wasn't exactly true. He is 2 seconds behind the rest of the top three. Will not have DRS to either of them involved. And he's not exactly built himself up enough of a tire delta to be able to claw back to these guys comfortably. You got to understand, he's only pit about 2 laps later than that of Race Day and Cali Rob, who's, than Scornsy and Cali Rob. He's about 4 laps later than that of Race Day. Yeah, that's a really tough decision. What I will say, he's made up immediately about another 4/10 of a second. And into the hairpin. Race Day still trying his best to find anything around Scornsy, but it's not going to happen. Reimer, again, is continuing to shave off time to that battle for the top three. As we are now halfway through this race, coming up closer on 10 laps to go in just a couple of laps' time. Could have a yellow flag there temporarily somewhere along the line, but it has sorted itself out, thankfully. Heading through 130R again. Somebody had a bit of a lockup in that corner that time. There's a big plume of smoke, and it looks as if the McLaren, time being, having a couple of bits of struggle and lockup there. Exiting the final corner, down the pit straight they go. Race Day follows in behind by 3/10 of a second. Cali Rob has got to be thinking he could play a role in this as well. Race Day is going for it now, using the energy, and into the lead goes the Mercedes and the championship leader. Edwin will get around A-Dub, that for the 5th position down the pit straight. But Race Day back to the lead and on older tires than the other two fellas involved in this battle. Reimer, of course, I would also say involved, but not immediately. Still about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds behind. Again, for Reimer, though, he is slightly starting to run out of time to get up to a good enough position. 2 laps more, and we will be at 10 laps to go in this Grand Prix. And I don't believe Reimer, for the time being, is going to have that easy. Shaving off 1.5 seconds, getting back into this battle, and then trying to overtake the other 3 guys in 10 laps. He has took about 1/10 off there. I think for Reimer, the best thing that's going to happen to him right now is if those fellas do continue to battle You know, they battle with DRS into those first couple of corners, maybe through 130R if they're lucky. And Reimer does get back, you know, a tenth and a half, couple of tenths. You know, in just the pure battling. Maybe it swallows up Cali Robb as well, and that gets him even closer. Because right now that second and a half is back to the third place car. So I think Reimer's definitely got to hope for some battling here. And I think he might get it as well. These guys are hungry. Cali Robb has saved up the majority of his energy store. He could absolutely use it and get in position to take the lead here. Race day with the fastest lap, 1:32.01. Next time by will be 10 laps to go in this 200th Division 1 Grand Prix. Scorns into the inside. He's going to drift back up the track in front of the Mercedes. As Cali Robb to the inside, we got loose on the curb there. Nearly went cleans into the side of Race Day. That one was risky. He's gobbled it up. Race Day will keep second. Cali Robb, having nearly caused a massive accident there, stays back in third. And that has taken off about 0.3 of a second as Travis Scott has been disqualified from the session somewhere on this circuit. I'm not entirely sure where that's happened, but that car is not where it should be. I don't know what's happened with Travis Scott, but he has been disqualified. Nicky round the outside of Gab. He'll take P18. Well, we started with 20. We're down to 19 with 10 laps to go this next time by. It's been a very clean and quick race, this one, which you do like to see. You do. So Scornsy has a second advantage over Race Day. Oh, look at this! Reimer having got... What is happening now? Race Day... Okay, let's recap. Scornsy was pulling ahead of Race Day. Race Day has had a bit of a slide coming out of the spoon corner. Reimer had overtaken Cali Robb anyway. And Reimer suddenly is back up to second as Race Day drops to fourth. After having a slide exiting the spoon corner, catches the car. He doesn't hit anything. But now, Reimer is the one suddenly in trouble once again as he'll have to defend from the Ferrari. He'll duck to the inside. The Ferrari of Cali Robb will have to do it round the outside and does with ease. As we have a yellow flag going through the chicane. Something has happened there. Fire Flow's heading off. He's gathered it back up and the track will stay green. A-dub into the pit lane having started on those hards. Scornsy does lead the rest of the top 3 and 4. By about now 2 seconds. It will take a safety car, I think, realistically, to catch him back up. Very difficult for Cali Robb. Scornsy looking to get his first Division 1 race win in 25-26 races. Again, the most storied and successful driver in Midwest F1 history. And not only has he won those 5 championships, he's done that with definite competition as well. There's never really, I don't think, I could be wrong, I think one of his earlier championship campaigns he won almost every round of the season. But those, you know, 3rd, 4th, and 5th championships that he had, he really did have competition. And Ryan Rods and you know, Race Day one of those as well. Race Day won the opening championship in F1 22. Had a really good handle on that game, remained a Division 1 competitor, but kind of fell away from the limelight a little bit. He's gotten himself back into position now to, to a three-peat here, really? No, that's not true, only back-to-back. Season 12 was won by Palmer. I don't know what he's doing these days. Scornsy won 10 and 11. Race Day won Season 9. Scornsy does lead, albeit only a second and a half now. Reimer has clawed back about 0.2 of a second. To the back end of Scornsy in question. Cali Robb has fallen off a little bit from the back end of Reimer. Race Day trying to follow suit here, trying to get himself back up into the podium places. Again, he needs a good result here. Race Chase has clawed his way up to 8th, but I'm afraid Race Day will still be outscoring him at this rate. Which, of course, Race Chase does not need. Next time, when we do head to the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg, Austria, the only 4 rounds left to go, and I think... What's the max? So the maximum amount of points, at least for finishing first, is 60. That's ignoring the fastest laps and whatnot. We could get extra specific on that. If Race Day gets to round, as he'll make his way to the inside of Cali Rob this time, he's got a 102-point gap over Race Chase now. If he exits Austria with a gap of 180, he will be the champion. If he exits... If he exits Spa, or if he exits Qatar and enters Spa with a gap of 120, he will also be champion. Of course, that is just the basic math. There is the fastest lap involved. There is the hardest charger award as well, as Lancey's going to get that 10th spot away from Shiraya. Top 3 now, after Scornsy, in the middle of my rambles, does seem to have lost that time, that advantage that he did have over the rest of the top 3. The 4 cars that initially were battling for the lead and for the win here, the more things change, the more they stay the same. I think for Scornsy, it would absolutely be very fitting for him to take the win of the 200th Division 1 Grand Prix. For Race Day, I think it would be very fitting as well, considering he's the reigning and defending champion. Reimer and Cali Rob do it, and that is a testament of the competitive nature that Division 1 currently have. And if Edwin does it after having a 6.5 second disadvantage into these final 5 laps, well, then pigs may have flown. That's no disrespect to Edwin. He's a talented driver in his own right. I'm just saying it does look slightly unlikely he's going to get back into the picture. I think a safety car would be the only thing to solve it. Reimer does take the lead on Scornsy, making their way down the pit straight into the first couple of corners. Race Day does not able, for the time being, to be able to get back within range of the McLaren. Cali Rob kind of sitting pretty in that 4th spot right now. He does not need to panic. He does have time, although, again, he is slightly running out of it. Let's be clear. As a driver, you cannot ever say to yourself that you have time. You have to always be willing to put a move into place. You know what I mean? Cali Rob right now, as we're entering these final 5 laps of the Grand Prix on lap 23. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, entering the last 5 laps on lap 23. Cali Rob cannot be telling himself that he still has 6 laps left from this point, 6 laps left in the race to make something happen. He's got to start going for it now. You know, he's been within range of these fellas all race long. I'm not going to say he hasn't looked necessarily a contender, because he hasn't. Well, because he absolutely is a contender, and that's what I'm saying, is that he hasn't really been aggressive enough to put the other 3 cars on notice, and I think that's what's going to get him here. Race Day, having had that incident earlier on in the race with Reimer, I think having kind of pushed him in the sense of the 2 cars got together. Nothing Race Day did. I think maybe was he a little bit later on the brakes, and the cars just kind of slid up into each other, as he's going to be side by side with Scornsy here. Since that incident, I think realistically he hasn't necessarily looked as well as he had earlier on. Of course, does get around Scornsy there calm as you like, and now has 7.5 tenths of a second back to Reimer. So I don't know. I may not know what I'm talking about. That's absolutely possible. There's no guarantee that I do, and there's more of a guarantee that I don't know what I'm talking about. But the point is now, Cali Rob's running out of time. Scornsy is no longer in the favorable position here. It does have to belong to Reimer, who is on the most fresh tires out of this group of the top 4. Race Day, of course, took that undercut by at least 1 or 2 laps over the rest of the grid. Scornsy had pit after that. Cali Rob, I believe, had pit even after that. Yes, he has. Reimer is currently on the most fresh tires. Cali Rob on 9 laps. Scornsy 10 laps. Race Day 11 laps. But I will say as well, knock on wood somewhere along the line, right there, not one car on track today has picked up a track limits penalty. That's good news. Of course, next time out when we do visit the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg, Austria, will also be no racing line allowed. Of course, racing line allowed tonight. They did not have racing line last time out in Zandvoort, which I didn't actually realize until after the race, and I thought it was brilliant. The absolute talent of this grid here. Race Day does have DRS to Reimer, 5 laps to go, although Race Day is well behind now, even a second and a half. Scornsy around the outside. Cali Rob's looking for it as well. Wheel to wheel. Contact, I think, being made. Race Day holds it there on the inside. Maybe some connectivity issues on my end, but it does look right wheel to wheel. This Race Day does manage somehow to get around Cali Rob, and the question now is, can Scornsy, will he be able to claw back that second and a half back to Reimer with 5 laps to go, or will it be Reimer taking the victory here in the 200th Grand Prix? It does appear for the time being that Reimer, once again, is in the most favorable position. Into the hairpin they go, and exiting. Through 200R now. Reimer does lead the rest of the top 4, by a second and a half, and that gap is only getting bigger. If not, it's staying exactly the same. Scornsy is, now as I say that, falling back. I was going to say he was chopping a couple of hundredths off there, but it's, again, it does not appear to be enough to be able to get back to Reimer. They've got to wait for a mistake, if anything, by that Red Bull. I'm not entirely sure even that's going to happen. He's, this far enough up the road to where even the DRS isn't going to affect him, considering he's got a second and a half back to Scornsy, almost 2 seconds now. Exiting the chicane down the pit straight once more. 4 laps to go here in Japan. Is now Cali Rob. Is he going to have a look to the inside of Race Day? Yes, he will. And Cali Rob now going for third. To the inside of the braking zone. Heavy over the inside curb. Nearly floated back up the track into Race Day. A little bit of contact there. Still going for it now into the beginning of the S-curves. As Race Day is going to be able to hold off Cali Rob, at least for the time being still. Meanwhile, Scornsy has lost about another 0.2 of a second. Oh, but I think Reimer, well, something had happened there. I don't know, a bit of a glitch there. I think he did initially had lost time to the back end of Reimer. It's now 2.1 the gap as Cali Rob slightly late on the brakes there. Almost got into the Mercedes. Into the hairpin they go. Cali Rob behind Race Day, 4.5 of a second. Race Day behind Scornsy, only about 3. And Scornsy behind Reimer, 2.2. Or thereabouts, as this time by, we'll have 3 laps to go here. .3 of a second. Race Day trying to close in on Scornsy. Again, I don't think, having looked at the tires as well, I think they're all 3 of them very even on pace. I do not believe any of them have the tire to be able to catch back up to Reimer. He does have 2-lap fresher tires than that of Cali Rob. Race Day, I think, is undoubtedly in a bit of the pressure here. 4-lap older hards, which initially at the time it looked like a good idea. The undercut worked very well. But now slightly being outpaced by both Scornsy and Reimer around him. Cali Rob also right there trying to catch up. In hindsight, was it the best decision? Maybe not. But he is at least got himself into the podium for now. Cali Rob is going to be obviously looking to deny him of that. Through Degner 1 and 2, yet again. It's not the penultimate time. There is a word for the third penultimate, but not entirely sure. Can I look that up? Sorry, I'll ignore that there. Lancey has been overtaken by Shirai, as now A-Dub trying to have a bit of a look on the Dutchman there as well. Not quite close enough to make it happen. We'll go back to the battle for the top 4, or I say now for at least the second position, as Reimer is getting to one of those points where you do believe, unless a mistake happens from him, he will go on to win this race. 2 seconds advantage with 2 laps to go at the line this time. That is not something that Scornsy, as great as he is going to be able to claw back here unless a mistake is made from Reimer. As Race Day is going to get down to the inside of Scornsy through the chicane. Look at this, Cali Rob's going for it now. Yes, he has. Scornsy down to 4th as we have a yellow flag. I believe Valentine has had an off there. Oh, look at this, Cali Rob now up to 2nd. He's taking Race Day with him. Yes, he has. As I was saying that there, Valentine had gone off at the 2nd Degner. He's since come back out on track. Good scrum there amongst 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And now Reimer's got a 3-second advantage just about. Cali Rob has retaken 2nd. Race Day I think at the end of it, will hold on to third. Scornsey will actually drop to fourth. But either way for Scornsey, it's been a good return race for him here to Division 1. I think had he joined at the off of this season, he would have absolutely been a contender for this championship. Maybe next time, season 15, hopefully. That'll be the case for Scornsey. Looking to the back end of race day, not quite. Only about a lap and a half left to go now. Reimer leads the rest of the top four by 3 seconds. As, oh, that looks like Valentine has gone off there at 130R. Yes, he has. Doesn't appear that he's hit anything. Maybe he's just taken a bit of a slide and will stay green. Reimer does lead, and you can see the 3 cars battling in there behind him. A tenth of a second, 2/10 separating all of them as Valentine is retired to the pit lane. Final lap of the Grand Prix about to be underway. 3-car battle now for that second spot. Callie Robb leads only just, exiting the final corner down the pit straight. Robb will choose the outside. Race Day follows behind. Robb will then swap back to the inside. Scornsey looks on and hopes from an error. Race Day around the outside through the first corner. Contact made. Oh! And Race Day's going to shoot to the outside and into the gravel. And Race Day falls well behind now. And I'm not entirely sure what's happened. I think Callie Robb may have gotten a little bit loose getting on the throttle through the corner. That car swung around and maybe made contact with the Mercedes, because that car went firmly to the left side there and then slid back first across the gravel. Race Day is now 5.5 seconds down to the rest of the top 3, but I don't know. I think that one could be even potentially a steward report later on, because you'd have to think that that sort of thing does look a bit sketchy on that final lap there. But Reimer through the spoon corner for the final time, 3.5 seconds ahead of Callie Robb. This will be his first win since December 19th when we went to Imola. He went back-to-back in rounds 5 and 6, Vegas and Imola, for his 3rd win of the season, it certainly appears. Reimer making his way through the chicane now. It's been a hell of a day for him. We questioned his strategy on the overcut, but for the 200th time in Division 1 history, we have a winner. It's Reimer. Callie Robb will cross the line 2nd, Scornsey 3rd. And I hate to say it, Race Day crossing the line in 4th. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure if Callie Robb's position is going to stand or if there will be steward reports with that. I'm not entirely sure, but Reimer will now have the forever honor and privilege of being named the 200th race winner in Division 1. Well, hey guys, be sure to join us next time out. We do head to the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg, Austria for round 12 as round of the final quarter. Oh, this might be a good battle here. Goodness me. Well, Lancey will finish 10th, Shariah 11th, A-Dub will go 12th. A good 3-car battle crossing the line there. Be sure to check us once again for round 12 as we head to the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg, Austria. Hotspot, it has been a pleasure joining you each and every week here in the Midwest F1 League. Here's to another 200. God forbid I say here's for another global pandemic to bring us all back to these games. That would be, well, not nice, but you know what I mean. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.